Welcome. This is Maze Lab, a game that's like, I don't know, 25 years old. I have it up on itch.io right now, but it's only in the DOS version that you have to run on DOS or DOSbox. So the reason for this devlog is because I'm working on Maze Lab Redux, which is going to be coming out on the Atari VCS, and I will be doing an update eventually on itch.io, and in the future probably expanding to, like, I don't know, GOG, Steam, when I get to it, you know? You know, things take time and money, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, so Maze Lab Redux is a kind of it's Redux because I took out the level editor. The DOS version has a level editor. You can go in, make your own mazes, and then you can have other people play them. You can save them to your computer. But because of the Atari VCS and saving and loading those files, I just didn't feel like doing it, and I just wanted to make a Redux. So the whole idea behind this is a Q basic game, or quick basic, same as Skyfrizz, my other game. So I'm converting it using QB64, which lets me port it to the Atari VCS in its Linux format. So because it doesn't have the level editor, I added other stuff. One of the things is a soundtrack, which is intended because No Lake had made a song for the game a long time ago when I thought I could add the song in, but it didn't really work out in its DOS form. But now I'm finally able to put that song in, as well as a track. There's an Obsidian Contraption track and a Liminalist Trixels track. Loop Bass Zero had remixed one of my songs also for the game, and I just added my buddy's track, Mixoma. That's a cool track. Now with the remixes, let me jump in here. So, the sound is really loud when I'm recording from the game because the speaker's kind of like near the microphone. So, I wanted to squeeze this in here. So, I have remix tracks of each. So this is the new options menu. This was not in the original version. This one here, drink identity, I didn't really want to include this, but I figured I'd have it for, you know, people who don't want to have the real Maze Lab experience. You know, basically drink identity is, it shows you what all the potions do right away. Because it randomizes when you play a new maze, it randomizes the color of the potions, and you don't know which one is which until you try them. Or there's another item called Flask Tester that will tell you what they are. But the best way to play is hidden. Controller movement thumbstick. This is just so you can shut the thumbstick off if you have a janky thumbstick that will, like, you know, some people's wear out. The sweep effect is a new thing I added to so it kind of shows you your turning. I'll give you an example. Braintree here is a new maze. In this game I added new mazes because there's no editor. I think I already said that, but you know. So here's the compass watch. Another cool thing about this version is I added mouse control. And it's not just moving the mouse around, but I can click on the screen to move forward. And I can turn. I can open boxes. You're also supposed to be able to access your items, but I have to fix this because I just changed the controls on that. Now you can, it shows a Y up next to the mapping device. You can just hit Y on a keyboard, or it's also Y on a controller for synergy there. Now you can also set an item too. So you can go like keycard 1 if you hit X on a keyboard, or X if a controller has an X. You can set that to X, and then you can like try your keycard anywhere. With the mouse controller, you can also go like this and say, oh, it's keycard slot. Or you can check out, oh, that's something I need to fix. Come on now. It's supposed to tell me those are lasers the first time I click on it. That's how it's supposed to work. Let me try it again. There we go. I must have clicked too hard. Yeah, and some of these new mazes, I added a couple of like tutorial kind of mazes. This is one of them, where it's the notes like, you know, tells you what laser doors are. You know, a couple little quality of life improvements. I think the sweep adds a nice effect. I also added sound effects, if you notice. Like that one, or when you go into a map, it does the little computer sound. Anything like computerized, digital, it does a sound. Also like the switch. You know, switch on, right? So, oh, there's a flask tester. See, this one's about the liquids. So I can use a flask tester to test this out. Another thing I'm working on is doing a couple different themes. Like, this is a different floor than the other one's, kind of making a dirt one. I'm still kind of working on this, so, you know, it's a work in progress. This is a new map called Abandoned Village. Let me go get the map. This is all supposed to work seamless too, with where I have, you know, mouse control and keyboard control and controller control. They all kind of should work together. You know, potentially you could, you know, you can play with the keyboard and mouse, which I'm doing right now. Or if you had a controller, you know, you could, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but, you know, you can. As long as it reads the controller and the mouse, you know, when you start up the game. So you can just hit X to use the key card. You can set any item to the X item. So, you know, whatever you use frequently. A little shortcut, you know. Another cool thing with the mouse is, so, since there's a mini-map here, when you have the mapping device and the compass watch, it unlocks this mini-map. And you can click on that to open up the main map. So it's just another quick way, if you play with mouse control. That's kind of cool. I think it's kind of a nice way to play with mouse control, and it reminds me of the old school, you know, dungeon crawlers and stuff like this. Not that this is exactly like it. I mean, it is a dungeon crawler, but there's no enemies. Now, I'm also working on Pyramid of Phantoms, which the name's changed a few times, but I'm using the same engine to build that game. But that game will be a little more involved. It'll be like one unified game with levels of a pyramid that you start at the top and you go downwards, so each level will get bigger. But that game's going to have more of a story, where this game has like individual mazes where each maze is a different game, basically. Some of the items I added some new effects, like the signal scanner. If there is a target somewhere, it'll sometimes add things to your map. If you have the map and the signal scanner, you know. Vaccine, that's a very rare item. Just so you know. What was I going to show you guys? Oh yeah. So one thing new with the trap disarmor. This was brought up in testing because people were trying to disarm laser doors. Now, I never wanted to do this because, you know, the laser doors are one of the main puzzle elements. There's all kinds of ways to open them. Some of them have key card slots where you have to find the key card. Some of them have a switch somewhere that'll open it up. There's also the pulse bomb, which is like an EMP that will like just, remove the lasers one time. And this is all set up to add puzzle elements to the mazes. Most of the mazes I made have like, a direct path to figuring out the puzzles. But now, since someone brought up the trap disarmer should disarm the lasers, well, what I did was I didn't want people to just disarm every set of lasers because that would be a little too OP, and it would break all the puzzles basically. So what I did is I added a frequency, a percentage, where sometimes it will destroy the trap disarmer. Sometimes it'll just fail. Sometimes it'll disarm the lasers. And sometimes it'll disarm the lasers and destroy your trap disarmer. So there's a chance. Let me see what it does now. Oh, I got lucky. So you can potentially kind of, fudge your way through the maze or whatever, I don't know if anyone knows, but the hover serum here, anyone who hasn't played or hasn't figured it out, will make you hover in the air, which lets you go over these half walls. It also lets you hover over floor sensors. If there's ever a floor sensor, so floor sensors are things that when you walk over them, it will trigger something. It'll raise or lower a wall, or it'll open a laser door, or it'll untrap something, depending on what it's targeted at. So if you don't want it to do that, you can hover over the floor sensor as well as those walls. It only lasts for a certain time. You see, it just says you stop hovering, so it lasts for a certain amount of time. Everything in Maze Lab has, not everything, but the teleporters that you can walk into and you teleport somewhere. Also, the switches on the walls or the floor sensors. They all have destination or target coordinates. So basically, when something has something like that, you can use the signal scanner. It says there's no signal here because there's nothing here, but if it's a warp, it'll tell you the coordinates that it warps to, or if it's a switch, it'll tell you what that switch targets. Now you can use that in conjunction with if you have the compass, which shows your current coordinates, and the map, so you can kind of figure out what things do and that will help you solve the puzzles. Maze Lab is all about doing that. Here's the trap goggles. These are pretty cool. So these you equip, and it'll give you trap detection. They also protect you against like spraying dust traps, just because you have goggles on, so it just naturally. So there's a possible trap here. So trap detection just went whoop. It says possible trap. I just opened it up anyways. But see, it says your eyes are protected by the goggles. You wipe them off. So a lot of the items have like kind of a double purpose. The trap detection goggles will protect you from spray, but they also, detect traps. And they will show you if there's lasers. Let me try the trap disarmer again so we can just see if it will the lasers could not be disarmed manually. That's another one of the options. Man, I'm really getting these in the right order. The lasers melt your trap disarmer tool. See there? And there it goes. And then if you walk into them, you die. How do you like the new death music? What's in a puzzle game? I want to talk about puzzle games and like exploration games, how they flow. Maze Lab was originally, I designed mazes to be done in a certain order. You have to go to this section, find this item that will let you go back into the other section. In the maze format, the map, it kind of works like a quote-unquote Metroidvania in a way, in a dungeon crawler, faux 3D kind of way, where you find one thing in this part opens up, something in another part. But where I have items now with multiple uses, and you can use them in like unintended ways, like say what I was talking about, the trap disarmor, how it has a percentage to disable lasers. You can actually bypass puzzles. Like instead of going over here to find the key card, you could just disarm the lasers and skip that part and kind of take shortcuts, do things out of order. There's also the hover serum, which is right here. Now it's meant to hover over this wall, but you can, now I'm kind of, spoiler alert, but you can use it elsewhere, and there might actually be a way to play Temple of Insight, and I'm pretty sure there's different ways to beat this maze. I try to do my best to guide the player, but they might find other ways to do things. The other item would be the pulse bomb, which removes lasers once. Like you can use them on different doors. But so I like the idea of having a non-linear puzzle game. That's a little open to interpretation how you go about it. But this also opens up avenues for soft locks. And if you're not a game developer and you're not familiar with a soft lock, it's basically like you do something in a game. It's not a bug per se. It's something you do in a game that prevents you from beating the game, or in this case, the particular level you're playing. Now, Maze Lab is riddled with these soft locks. One of the common ones is the hover serum, because you could just, you only find so many in a maze that you can use, and you might need it to get past a certain point. But if you use it in the wrong place, it's a one-time use item, and it only lasts for, I think 3 spaces. So you can make it so, you can't beat a maze. Now, I'm wondering what you guys think about this, because, leave in the comments what you think about open-ended puzzle games, and there might be some developers or gamers out there that think soft locks are completely unacceptable. But, if I say they're in there and you're wandering around a maze, and you just can't figure it out. I mean, you could be soft locked. I don't know if I really have, I could go through each maze and try to really prevent that, but I would pretty much have to get rid of some things and change the game entirely. So I kind of like the idea of this world where it's kind of like a death, A soft lock can be like a death, except it doesn't instantly kill you. You don't know you're dead. What do you guys think about that? Anyways, this is, I think that's wraps it up for my devlog. This is coming out on the Atari VCS, and I'm going to be updating the itch.io page at some point. The way I work is, kind of random and stuff, so I do the best I can. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.